Firstly, you guys know we get our water from Calgary.
Yes, we do.
And our wastewater goes back to Calgary.
Yes.
So we were, if I'm correct, when I first got elected, we were using about 22 million liters a day of water. Our consumption per capita was, I think, around 3 something. Now we're below 3. I think we're 275 versus some other municipalities. We just introduced a water bylaw this year. So we were called a regime. You can't tell me I can't turn my tap on, all that kind of stuff. But honestly, when you get deep into this, we're like 2035 before some significant changes happen. And we tip the scale on population, and we hit our threshold on how much water we can take from the Bow River Basin. And that's what we're all grappling with. So not just Airdrie, Cochrane, all the regional players. Calgary's the main player, obviously. So we put in the watering restrictions. So we used to be able to water your lawn every day. Now you can only do it 3 times a week. You certainly can do it with your your hose, but you can't leave your water on all day long just running. And that's what we wanted to eliminate that. We encourage the kids mostly because they're the future. Don't brush your teeth with the water running. Simple things like that. Don't leave the water running. Make sure when the home builders are building your home, the hot water pipes are insulated right to the taps. Because what happens is when you're at the other end of the house, you let your water run till it's hot. Well, you've just dumped 3 gallons of water down the system for no apparent reason. Now our recovery rates are like 97%, I think, is what City of Calgary is. But we're going to hit that population threshold where people need to conserve water and term contract. So we have we're the largest bulk water customer for the City of Calgary. It's a 20-year agreement. The last time it expired, we just kept renewing it on the old expiry. But we actually hired a consultant to look at all the aspects of our water usage, because at the end of the day, we wanted to make certain that we were paying our fair share to the City of Calgary. We can only grow a certain amount. If we exceed that number, we would pay more money into the system and so on. I'm not particularly worried because I'm thinking that people like yourselves are becoming educated on the issue. Edmonton doesn't have the same water issues that the City of Calgary and this region have to deal with. And I think the more that people get out there, get educated, and know what's going on, the better off we're all going to be for the future. That's my main concern. Today we're sitting pretty well. So based on our agreement, I don't feel that would be the case. But again, when you hit those population thresholds, we had a presentation from a consultant who basically said, once you get to this certain date, we have no more extra. We had a bunch of deals on a continue. You can buy them from our waste and recycling centers. Rain barrels, I think they were $50 or it was pretty inexpensive. Yeah. And it's amazing how much water you capture and how much softer the water is. More people are being more cognizant of that. They're putting in systems where they're watering at night, not in the hot sun, and they're doing things a little bit differently. So I think that at the end of the day, it's really up to the people to be more cognizant of their use, because you also have to pay the price, right? If you use too much water, you pay for it. It would be something we could certainly aspire to do, but honestly, at the moment, we haven't. I don't think the critical button has been pushed. All of our administrators are aware of it, and that's really what was the driving force for the water bylaw, right? We needed to make certain we are a leader in all of the things we need to be a leader in as it relates to that resource. You have a water license. You would have to, in order for me to be a customer, or Shelley was a customer, you would have to give up a portion of your license. So as a municipality, would you do that? Right? No. So you're right. So you wouldn't do that. So that's where the government of Alberta and the Minister of the Environment and his staff have to come out and figure out a better way to do that. So the government of Alberta, you guys have a lot you can contribute to this conversation. Make it happen. Make it come cheaper, more efficiently, more effectively, and more environmentally across the board, so that we're not spending a lot of money on infrastructure that's a long, long way away from it. So they're using the stormwater pond. So what we're trying to do, so we actually introduced it, it's in the capital budget for this year, for East Lake, which is our largest water reservoir behind Genesis Place, to take that water and use it for irrigation. Oh. The challenge is that if you play soccer, or you play soccer, or we play field hockey or whatever, if you fall in that water and you get it in your mouth or on your skin, it has to be clean in some capacity, right?
Yep.
It has to hit certain health standards. So I know we've had some challenges with the Windsong water system,
Yeah.
but it's really because it's not a treated, it's not a treating facility. You're not going to drink the water out of there. So we send around trucks with fresh water. Well, we'd much prefer to do it through the storm pond system.
So that would be.
Especially last year with all the rain we had.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have had to turn the tap on. It'd be great to be able to start using some of the resource we have sitting there, kind of waiting to go. Said the threshold's in about 20 years, so it'd be 2039, I think, because 2038 is kind of what we're gearing toward. It's all going to depend on how we treat the resource going forward. And so we're building a regional plan, and obviously the number one consideration for any growth is water. How do we get it? How do we pay for it? How can we use it in the most effective and efficient way and return that back into the system? And those are the conversations that are taking place right now at the regional level. Like I would say from a personal perspective, am I worried today? No. I think we're fine. I think Calgary's fine too. No, we're actually 146 meters above Calgary. So we're like the highest city in Canada, next to one other one in BC. Say we owned an acreage, it would be on the Rocky View billing cycle. So we wouldn't increase any costs unless it was to your door. And the likelihood of that is pretty remote. So if you had 3 or 4 acres, you're going to be coming in off your well water or spring or whatever you're using, and then they just use their septic fields. Our water is tested all the time. It's not done specifically in each home, but they do, I mean, we just went through all, because there was the scare on television about the different lead amounts.
Yes.
But the amount of lead pipe actually that would be in Airdrie is very minimal.
Yeah.
And what happens is you get it's like a film on the inside of the pipe that develops. It's sort of an algae, which protects most of the water from any of that stuff kind of hitting it, is the way it's been explained to me.
Perfect.
Next year.
It will be.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you probably can request it if you want. I turn my tap on with great confidence,
Yep.
just because I know who's looking after us. So when you're treating water, this wouldn't have the capacity to treat water like Calgary does when they, take sewage.
Sure.
It's treated for quite a while and then it's released. But at that point, I think it's over 90% where the contaminants are moved. I'm sure it's higher than that.
97, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember because it's been a while since I've toured a sewage facility, but we'll never be able to remove that level of sediment from the storm ponds. And goose, ducks, all of those fodder, they are dumping their fecal matter into our storm water.
Yeah.
So we have all of that to contend with. Then you have whatever comes in off the road, which could be oil from cars, not that we dump oil, but leaking on whatever else captured in the rainwater, lots of sediment, lots of dirt, lots of debris, especially when it's winter months when you're gathering all that dirt and pickle mix and everything else that they put down for salt, and that all again ends up in there. So then you have this big pile of stuff, and we do have some great little systems to clarify the water, and there's more environmental treatment than we've done previously in our storm ponds. That's certainly taking away some of the more specific problems. But I think as it relates to that, it's sort of going to be an ongoing concern, so to speak. I'd like to see your shower that's pretty much soap and skin is just going down, fill your toilets. But that would be up to the provincial government again to make those calls.